So, do you see a lot of people your age smoking cigarettes?
Yes, a lot of them. Huffing and puffing like Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yes.
Yes, a lot.
Just mainly at like hospitality, like younger people, and that's a big one I've seen. I think the access to it is also quite easy, so it's easy for a lot of people to just pick up and just become a part of their, weekly routine.
Not as much as they vape, but still like a fair amount. And if you're not vaping, you're smoking. Or you hate both.
Believe it or not, Australia actually has one of the lowest smoking rates in the world.
This is the good news. In Australia, we have incredibly low smoking rates among young people. Around 2% of young teenagers, 3% of older teenagers have smoked in the past week or the past month.
One of the things that we have known is that Australia is exceptional at public health and tobacco control. And we've seen for a long time steady declines in smoking prevalence.
Every cigarette is doing you damage.
There are strict rules here about selling tobacco, smoking in public and packaging. And that's because we know smoking is both harmful and addictive.
If young people become addicted at a young age, they can then go on and be a lifelong customer.
Nicotine is a highly addictive chemical found in cigarettes and is just one of more than 7,000 chemicals in tobacco smoke, which can and does kill thousands of Australians every year.
Over the years, taxing cigarettes has been one of the most effective methods the government's used in reducing smoking rates.
But in the most recent budget, the government predicted it will make a lot less money than expected from cigarette taxes, almost $7 billion less.
It's not because far fewer people are smoking. It's because of a booming illegal cigarette market. And it's got some people worried smoking rates could go up.
Cigarettes need to be really expensive. It's one of the #1 reasons why we have such low smoking rates among young people. They're just too expensive for people to buy.
Most uni students can barely afford to eat, so cigarettes just aren't a priority for most people.
Teenagers as well, not working as much. They don't have enough money to buy cigarettes. It's like $70, $60 a pack, which is expensive. So it does help a lot, kind of deter younger people away from it.
And now what's happened is you have this illicit tobacco market that has moved in and exploited that fact and taken advantage of that and preyed on smokers who are already addicted and opened up shops and are blatantly selling illicit tobacco products in broad daylight. So we're not talking about trying to blame individual smokers here. This is organized crime that's taking advantage of people who are addicted and is profiting from that.
And we know that retailers and entrepreneurs out there, the tobacco industry, their job is to profit. And so as a result, they flood the market with this product and make it easily accessible to people. And it is an addiction. So that's the hardest bit.
Like nicotine patches aren't cheap, nicotine spray isn't cheap. Once it becomes an addiction, not everyone wants to keep going with it. It's their body's like that craving that they just can't get rid of. Fueling that addiction can get expensive. So I think that's why a lot of people turn to the illegal market where it is obviously a lot cheaper.
And experts say there might be something else behind this too. Vaping.
So essentially, vaping is a risk factor for smoking. And it's quite clear from our research that for young people who first try vaping, they're 5 times more likely to go on to smoke. And to me, when you pair that with just how addictive vaping is, this is a real health concern for young people.
According to this research, the relationship between vapes and cigarettes is strongest for teenagers between the ages of 12 and 17. And the younger a person is when they start vaping, the higher their increased risk of trying smoking. So 12-year-olds who have vaped are 29 times more likely to go on to try smoking than 12-year-olds who have not vaped.
We know that of teenagers, about 30% have tried vaping at least, so that might be just having a few puffs to, being regular vapors. So that's about a third. If those young people are then more likely to go on to smoke, we could definitely see increases in smoking rates in Australia for the first time in decades. And we absolutely do not want to risk that happening.
A lot of people have just made the jump as an alternative. Some people are fed up with vaping. I know vape prices are also through the roof as well. So sometimes wherever you're accessing it can be a little bit cheaper. I think it's just one of the different ways people get their nicotine in.
Why do you think there's that pull back to cigarettes?
As people's way of quitting vaping, because vaping is more appealing and it's more fun, so they would rather something that tastes bad and make them not want to do it anymore.
So what's the answer?
If you're going to make cigarettes expensive and you're going to do all these things to reduce smoking rates, you also have to enforce your own laws.
It's not a tax issue that we're seeing, it's an enforcement issue. We know that we need to enforce the regulations that are in place. We know when people are speeding in school areas, we don't say, oh, let's get rid of the speed limits. We say, okay, let's enforce it. Let's make sure our children are safe. Let's make sure the public is safe. So that for those people that want to be smoke-free, that those people that are trying to quit, being smoke-free, being nicotine-free is an easier option. 2 out of 3 people that smoke will die from smoking-related illness. And yet we still sell this product at every street corner.
I would say stronger regulation on like glamorizing it in the media and pop culture and stuff like that, because that can definitely influence people to start who wouldn't have otherwise.
I think we maybe need to enforce like no smoking areas a bit more, because I think seeing it kind of does encourage you to feel like it's normal.
I think a huge part is education. Like I remember having to do projects in primary school about, you know, what happens when you smoke to your lungs and all that, and it kind of scares you out of it, which isn't the best, but it's definitely efficient, I feel.
I don't know, I'm really against smoking and vaping, so I would just say find a way to take it away completely, like make it completely illegal, don't just tax it, like, you know, fine people for being out smoking in public and stuff like that.